Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of challenging source material, articles, studies, narratives, and, well, we pull out the essential insights and surprising truths, all tailored just for you.
Today, we are peering behind the curtain of fame. We're tackling the topic of celebrity addiction, unpacking the incredible pressures of that relentless public life.
And the very real statistics that show just how dangerous that life can be.
Exactly. Our mission today is to get some rapid, well-informed insight into the unique risk factors, the sobering data, and, of course, the really compelling stories of both triumph and tragedy.
And we are starting immediately with a statistic that should genuinely shock you. Because when you look at the raw data, the rate of drug-related celebrity deaths, it's not just high.
No, it's accelerating at an alarming pace. It really indicates something is fundamentally broken in that system.
It really does.
Absolutely. There was a huge study back in 2016 that tracked nearly 300 celebrity drug overdose deaths between 1970 and 2015. And what they found was stark. The rate of these deaths, it nearly doubled in the 21st century alone.
Doubled. Just wow. That means the risk didn't just stay the same, it amplified profoundly in just a few decades, even as public awareness about addiction was supposedly going up.
Right.
So why didn't that awareness stop this acceleration?
That is the core question, isn't it? And the study, it offers a crucial clue. It noted a really significant rise in prescription opioid involvement in these deaths.
Ah, so that's the key.
I think so. It suggests as a major cultural and systemic shift. The danger isn't always about illicit street drugs. So often the risk starts with doctors, with pain management, and just the normalization of these powerful medications.
Blurring the line between what's legitimate treatment and what's misuse.
It completely blurs that line.
So it's less about the back alley deal and much more about an institutionalized risk, often enabled by fame and access.
Precisely. And if we look at the scope of this study, it confirms this is an occupational hazard. More than half of the celebrities included were specifically from the entertainment industry. This isn't random.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We see the glamour, the awards, but clearly the reality is a pressure cooker. What are these unique pressures driving this tragic trend?
Well, the key disconnect is exactly that. It's the public view of glamour versus the private reality of struggle. SMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, actually reported that substance abuse rates are measurably higher in the entertainment industry.
Higher than in a lot of other big industries. So why? Why is this specific environment so toxic? Is it just the long hours and the parties, or is there something more insidious at play?
It's a dynamic combination of factors that creates this cycle of vulnerability. First off, you have immense stress,
Right.
high competition, the unstable nature of the work, and that constant crushing demand to maintain a flawless public image. You just can't have a bad day when millions of eyes are on you.
That pressure to be perfect must be absolutely exhausting. And now, in the age of instant media, any minor slip-up is just amplified globally in seconds.
It just exacerbates the anxiety. And so substances, whether it's alcohol or medication, they often become the default coping mechanism for managing that crippling stress.
An escape hatch.
Exactly, an escape hatch. And then you have to layer on the lifestyle factors and, the peer pressure. The accessibility of drugs and alcohol in the entertainment world is extremely high. It's almost part of the package.
Right, it's normalized.
And when the environment itself is that saturated, the likelihood of developing an issue just, it skyrockets.
That makes perfect sense. Fame provides that instant gratification. The money, the praise, which I imagine makes the slow, painful process of recovery seem even harder to commit to.
That's a great point. The instant fix is celebrated, the long struggle is hidden away.
And that environment sounds volatile, but let's narrow the lens even more. Because there's one specific corner of the industry where the stats become truly devastating.
And that would be?
Among all actors in the study who died from drug-related causes, 13.7% were from the pornographic film industry. Yeah. That sector shows this intense vulnerability, a disproportionately high risk for both male and female actors in that subset.
That data point just powerfully underscores this idea of an occupational hazard. When that performance pressure is coupled with extreme accessibility and, probably fewer institutional supports for mental health than a big Hollywood studio,
the outcomes become devastatingly predictable.
They do. And if you connect this back to the larger timeline, you can see the acceleration of the tragedy. The progression chart in the source material is, it's chilling.
I saw that. The rate of drug-related celebrity deaths went from a 0% reported increase in 1970.
To a 50% increase by 1990.
And then it hit that 100%, the doubling by 2015.
It shows that despite decades of these tragic public examples, the core systems, the access, the pressure, the speed of modern life, they haven't adapted. The environment isn't getting fundamentally safer.
So the problem is just gaining momentum faster than any solutions.
That's right.
That is chilling. And it leads us right into the dark side of fame, the ultimate tragic consequences.
These heartbreaking historical examples, they just underscore that fame, rather than protecting you, can actually isolate you, allowing addiction to just flourish unnoticed or, even worse, enabled.
Let's start with the king, Elvis Presley. His story just perfectly illustrates how that unchecked celebrity power opens every door to substances.
Elvis died in 1977. He was only 42. His autopsy was truly shocking. They found, 14 different drugs in his system.
14.
14. The sources mention this lethal combination, including codeine at 10 times the therapeutic level, along with methaqualone. The official cause was cardiac arrhythmia, but
his whole system was collapsing. It was clearly fueled by years of prescription drug misuse, often from a team around him that just couldn't say no.
Exactly. The power structure surrounding a star like that creates an echo chamber. Medical professionals become enablers. They mask the problem instead of treating it.
And decades earlier, we see a similar tragedy. The country music legend Hank Williams.
Hank Williams died so incredibly young at just 29 back in 1953.
29.
His death was attributed to this devastating mix of binge drinking plus abuse of opioid analgesics he was taking for chronic back pain, and then chloral hydrate on top of that.
So a perfect storm.
A perfect storm. It highlights that even back then, chronic pain, the grueling demands of touring, it all led to a dependency that was just poorly managed and, well, quickly fatal.
And then, of course, you have the enduring mystery and intense tragedy surrounding Marilyn Monroe.
Her story is the ultimate example of the mental health toll of just being constantly scrutinized by the public eye.
The hypersexualization, the pressure.
She died in 1962 at 36. Her death was ruled as suicide by an overdose of barbiturates and chloral hydrate. Toxicology confirmed it. The intense mental health burden she carried, amplified by fame, it led her to rely so heavily on prescription meds.
And we should note, there are still conspiracy theories out there about foul play.
There are, and they persist today. But the documented evidence really points overwhelmingly to the lethal outcome of substance misuse.
Finally, let's remember Jackie Wilson, the rhythm and blues vocalist. His tragedy was so public.
It was. Jackie Wilson suffered a catastrophic heart attack while performing right on stage in 1975. He was 49.
Right in the middle of a show.
This event, reportedly drug-related, led to severe brain damage. He was left in a coma for 7 years until his death in 1984. His story is just this painful illustration of how addiction can derail a life in the most public way imaginable.
The body just breaks down.
It does.
Okay, we can't just end on tragedy, though. We have to pivot here. Because these cases, they dominate the headlines, but they're not the only stories. We have to look the other side of the coin.
We do.
The incredible stories of resilience that show us recovery is possible, even under that hot spotlight.
And these recovery stories are so vital. They serve as proof that addiction is a treatable health issue, even when it's compounded by the insane pressures of fame. They break that fatalistic narrative.
We have to start with Robert Downey Jr. His struggle was so public for years, and his comeback just defines a generation.
RDJ is a genuine testament to redemption. He said his drug use began before he was even a teenager, moving into misuse of alcohol, cocaine, heroin.
It led to multiple arrests, prison time.
It did, and Hollywood had essentially deemed him unhireable. An insurance risk, a total liability.
And to go from being a liability to defining the modern blockbuster era, spearheading the Iron Man franchise in 2008, becoming one of the most successful actors in the business, that's awe-inspiring.
It's a total life transformation. His story shows that once you make that commitment, professional doors that seemed permanently shut can actually reopen.
Then there's Bradley Cooper, who had this moment of clarity really early in his career.
Yes, Cooper made the life-changing decision to stop using drugs and alcohol at 29, back in 2004. That early decision was instrumental. He saw where his life was heading.
Before he hit a career-destroying low.
Right. It takes immense courage to address that vulnerability while you're still climbing the ladder, rather than waiting until you hit rock bottom.
Absolutely.
And he did face serious consequences. The sources mention an arrest for cocaine possession in 2006, but he clearly used that moment to deepen his commitment. And now he's one of Hollywood's most respected actors.
And then there's Drew Barrymore, whose struggles started at such an alarmingly young age.
Her story is incredible. Drinking at 9, moving to marijuana and cocaine, and then entering rehab at 13.
13.
To deal with that kind of notoriety, especially as a child star, where your entire teenage life is headline news, it's almost unthinkable pressure. But she demonstrated this extraordinary resilience.
She really did. And her story reminds us that if recovery can happen for a child star whose every mistake was on the front page, well, it can happen for anyone.
And to illustrate that long-term commitment, we have Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones. This is not a quick fix story. This is a decades-long war.
It's an epic.
It is. Richards has been very open about his past addictions. He quit heroin in 1978, but only after 5 different arrests, or busts, as he called them.
Which just shows how hard it is to sustain recovery when your whole environment is enabling misuse.
What about that coconut tree incident?
Right. He kept using cocaine until 2006. He stopped only after he had brain surgery related to him falling out of a coconut tree.
It's an absurd image.
It is, but it highlights a really serious point. Sometimes it takes a massive, life-threatening physical consequence, even a ridiculous one, to finally break the cycle.
These stories, both the fatal ones and the triumphant ones, they really force us to look inward. They raise a critical point about our role as consumers of all this celebrity drama.
Absolutely. What is the role of the media and the public in this cycle? The media often sensationalizes addiction, focusing on the shocking details to just generate headlines.
It's the ultimate morbid clickbait, isn't it? Watching a star's public breakdown.
And that approach, it unfortunately perpetuates this profound stigma. It creates a massive gap between the public's view, which is often judgmental, and the reality of a person who desperately needs health care. If the media treats addiction like a crime or a character flaw, why would a star who relies on public approval ever risk seeking help?
Exactly. And on top of that, the media's frequent glamorization of hard-partying lifestyles also contributes. It makes substance use seem exciting and sophisticated until it ends in tragedy.
So how do we break the stigma? What is the fundamental shift in the narrative that has to happen?
We need to fundamentally reframe the discussion. Addiction has to be recognized universally as a health issue, not a moral failing.
And the media has to lead that charge.
The media has the power to play a profoundly positive role here. Focus on the human struggles, and more importantly, highlight the success stories, like RDJ and Bradley Cooper.
By showing that recovery is not only possible, but it is achievable, even under the most brutal, unforgiving spotlight. That provides real, tangible hope.
Precisely. Ultimately, knowing these stats is only helpful if we understand what to do with them. These stories highlight the need for understanding, for empathy, whether you're a world-famous actor or not.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive today. We've seen the data, that doubling rate, confirming how the high-pressure world of fame creates these unique vulnerabilities. But these same stories, they reinforce that addiction is a treatable condition that doesn't discriminate.
It's a powerful lesson in human resilience and the ongoing difficult struggle for recovery that has to happen, ironically, outside the glare of the cameras.
So here's a final thought. Given that the pressure to maintain a flawless image is such a huge factor in celebrity substance abuse, how much do our own non-celebrity lives suffer from the parallel pressures to maintain flawless online or social images? And how might that chronic, often unacknowledged stress stop us from seeking the help we need? Something for you to mull over. We'll see you next time.